What's good, everybody? Today, we are going to break down and grade Monte Morris. And then we're going to ask ourselves, does he have trade value? And is he a trade candidate in the offseason? Let's talk about it next on Locked On Wizards.
You are Locked On Wizards, your daily Washington Wizards podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's good, everybody? It's your boy Brandon Scott again with my guy, the real Ed Oliver. Thank you for making Locked On Wizards your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. And today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code Locked On NBA for $20 off your first purchase. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. So today we are going to grade and break down Monte Morris. Now, before we get into it, his stat line for this season was he averaged around 10 points a game, shooting 48% from the field, 38% from three, averaged around 5.5 assists, almost got there at a steal, but it's about 0.7, and 83% from free throw. But outside of those main stats, what stats really stood out to you about Monte Morris this season?
His assist to turnover ratio was huge. That's one of his better. That's really his best attribute, is that he does not turn the ball over a lot. Him and DeLon, they were top 10, top 5 as a duo in assist to turnover ratio, but at the same time, they were bottom 5 or bottom 10 in points scored by starting point guards. DeLon Wright had to start a couple games with Monte Morris being out, and then Monte Morris was the starter for the majority of the season. He started 61 games out of 60, and he played in 62 games, but started 61. So he was bottom 5 in scoring points per game as a starting point guard, which is not good at all. And it just shows that the Wizards still really need a point guard. They still need to upgrade, and it shows that he's a backup. Now, he's a good shooter, shot 38% from the three, 10 points a game, just a real steady Eddie guy, super professional. Of course, he was a second-round pick coming out of Iowa State, had a good career with Denver, played in the playoffs with Jokic last year, hit big shots for Denver, was clutch. And Wes Unseld Jr. really, really wanted him to come here. He was, of course, with Wes, as you know, him and Wes have a great relationship. That trade for Will Barton and Monte Morris, I think Wes Unseld Jr. definitely had a big part of that, or a big influence of that. But it just showed, and Monte Morris wasn't a guy that could really get into the paint, couldn't really create much for others. He did have a couple big assist games. He had a couple games where he had 10 assists. But at the same time, we needed to push the pace. We needed somebody who could get into the paint. Defensively, he's not going to give you so much. He gives effort. But once again, he's a small guy, a smaller point guard. I remember Bradley Beal last year saying that he wanted taller point guards. In the post-game interview that he did on NBC Sports Washington, we ended up with Monte Morris, who's about 6 feet, 6'1". And sometimes height doesn't really matter, but at the same time, you can see Monte kind of, losing his matchup against other point guards that were faster and stronger and quicker than him, or were just more explosive. And a lot of times, like I said, he doesn't really get by guys. He's more of a mid-range shooter. But he's not a guy that's going to get into the teeth of the defense and get to the paint and make a lot of easy shots for others, or really push the pace. At the end of the year, I'll talk about some of the stuff that he said in his end of the year press conference. But like I said, he's not a bad player, but he's better suited as a backup point guard. And the Wizards, once again, try to use him as a starting point guard.
Yeah, that's been our thing for a minute, trying to turn the combo guard into a starting point guard overnight. But, let's get into the good, the bad, and the ugly of Monte Morris. Look, we both agree that he's a scorer. He can definitely shoot the rock. You look at it, he shot 38% from the three-point, 40% in the field, so he can shoot. Now, the bad is just, like you said, man, the slow pace. It reminded me of Spencer Dinwiddie, just the slow pace, waiting for the offense to set up, and by that time, the defense is just waiting for you to set up. It's just his inability to drive the lane really drove me mad this year. It's just, he had his little floater shot, but he just couldn't penetrate the lane, and he just couldn't get by guys. And that was a major issue because it just didn't open up the offense the way it could have been. I think we didn't get our full potential because we didn't have that guard who can expand that offense and kind of, draw the defense in and really utilize shooters. Defensively, man, he was just a non-factor. He's just a small guard. Bigger guards, which, your guards are getting bigger now. SGA is a prototype of the point guard now. Point guards are taller, man. It used to be that the only tall point guard back in the day was Magic, but now, I mean, you got a lot of guys running point. They have some height to them and have some strength to them. So defensively, there was a lot to be desired. But so like you said, and like we both kind of said all year long, is that his best function is as a six man on the bench, running the second unit. That's just his thing. He did it in Denver. Now, when asked upon to start, if need be, he can do it. And I feel like he did settle into the role of being a starting point guard, being a distributor. But again, he just highlighted what we desperately need in the district, man, which is a point guard who can not only penetrate and collapse defense, but who's going to really push his offense. Really catch defenses off guard. We're allowing defenses to set up, and that's a problem. Especially when you don't have fluid ball movement, because if you're not going to push the pace, you have to have fluid ball movement to catch defenses off guard. That's the whole point of beating defense, especially the zone, which, as you know, people put the zone on us because they know that ball movement was an issue and we didn't have a point guard who can penetrate the lane. So, yeah, I mean, he wasn't a bad player. He was I hate to say average, man, but he wasn't a year where he like wowed me. It was just he did decent. He did his job, but it wasn't like, so we're going to talk about his value and, what the vision is for him going into the offseason coming up. But yeah, it was just an average year. He did his job, and I ain't mad at him for doing that, but he highlighted every area that we need to improve on and highlighted why we desperately need a point guard in DC.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, we were spoiled by John Wall. We were spoiled by Russell Westbrook, athletic point guards, fill up the stat sheet, get guys open, finish above the rim, finish through contact. Electrifying point guards that were super athletic. But Monte Morris, I think, like you said, I think he's a solid guy coming off the bench. I mean, there were times where we wanted DeLon to start. We wanted Jordan Goodwin to start over him just because they were better defenders. And they were just they just provided more impact in the game. And I think Monte Morris is a solid guy off the bench. But yeah, we can talk more about him and whether we think he's going to be here next year or his trade value and his draft grade. But we got a quick word from Brandon.
Yes, sir, we do. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Now, buying tickets can be a pain in the butt, I tell you, but buying tickets should not be stressful. Gametime is fast and it's easy way to buy tickets for all sports and music, comedy shows, and theaters near you. With killer deals on last-minute tickets and the best price guaranteed, you can stop stressing over tickets and just get hyped for the fun you're going to have. So forget planning months in advance. Gametime has deals on tickets right up to the day of the event, which is the big thing for me. Get exclusive flash deals and tickets for football, basketball, baseball, concerts, comedy shows, theater, and more. Get images of your seat before you buy so you know your view of where you're going to be sitting, which is, again, a big plus for the site. Buy tickets in a matter of seconds, 2 taps, and you are set. Tickets are sent directly to your phone, so you never have to dig through your email. Snag the tickets without stress with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use Locked On NBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code Locked On for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. And thank you for making Locked On Wizards your first listen every day. Every dayers. Tomorrow on the show, we're going to talk a little bit about DeLon Wright and Jordan Goodwin and about what is the vision for this team for them going forward. And are they long-term pieces, or is next year going to be their last year in DC? So getting into it, before we get into Monte's trade value, what do you grade Monte this year?
There's some good things he did. I found another stat too, that he was in the top 75th percentile of assists, but in the bottom 50th percentile of turnovers committed. So once again, that's just another stat showing how good he was. His assist to turnover ratio was like 3.5 to 1 turnover right now. Or I'm sorry, he finished the season 5 assists to 1. At one point, DeLon Wright was also in the top 5 of that stat category as well. Tyus Jones is in that category as well, just to give you guys some context of how good he was at assist to turnover ratio. I did want to get some quotes in here before I give him a grade too. So also, because we didn't react to his last year or his end of the season presser now, he says, Monte Morris said that, this is from Hoop District, their tweet, he said that Monte Morris says the Wizards needed a clearer and more consistent identity regarding pace of play. Later this season, there was more emphasis to play faster, but it took too long to get there. So you could definitely see that as a shot at West. Maybe I'm not going to say it's a shot at Wes Unseld Jr., but it's just a suggestion of it took the coaches too long to realize that and push the pace. So that's something that Wes has to improve on as well. But then he also went on to say that Monte, this is from Chase Hughes as well. He said that his quote was saying that Monte Morris says he believes head coach Wes Unseld Jr. wants the Wizards to play faster next season. It's going to be our goal and our identity. Everybody is going to be on the same page. So, and that could show that not everybody was on the same page. So that shows that they have to get on the same page, and that could maybe be showing that West has to communicate more. And that Monte Morris, he felt the need to say that and come out and say that. So that's somewhat of a concern right there. But my grade for him, I give him like a B minus too. All these guys kind of get B's or C's because they're just mid-tier guys. We don't have a lot of elite talent on the team other than, Brad or Porzingis or Kuz. So it's a lot of rotational pieces on the roster.
Yeah.
And he's just a backup point guard. I would have to grade Tommy Shepard in the front office more than what I grade Monte Morris, because we couldn't come into the season expecting that Monte was going to be the savior at the point guard position. I think he came in here and he did his role, but at the same time, like I said, Jordan Goodwin provided more defensive impact than what he did. And there was times, like I said, we wanted Jordan Goodwin to start, and DeLon Wright was more of a factor defensively than what Monte Morris was. So I'm not going to ding Monte too much. He had some good moments. He chipped his tooth in one game and played hard, came back in. So yeah, I give him about a B minus.
Yeah, I mean the chipped tooth is why I didn't give him a C plus. I mean, he ate the court literally. I mean the comment, I get it, man. It's definitely a dig at West, and I get that, and I agree that part is on West, but there's a small degree that's not, because as point guard you are the quarterback of that offense, man, or the team practically, and you dictate pace. I get it. The philosophy behind coaching was slower, and I get that because we knew it was slower going back to Denver. So we know that it was his MO from the get-go. But again, man, you're point guard. So you do take a little bit of responsibility of that because you are the quarterback. You dictate pace. So I think that he kind of should have took a little more responsibility as far as, I get it, everybody's at fault. I get that, and I agree. But, hey, you're the quarterback, man. You dictate pace. We all know, look, hate him or love him, Tom Brady dictated pace of offenses, man. And that was his thing. That's what made him great. Hate him or love him. So, and that's the same thing with point guard. Point guard is a very important position. Really, you can argue that point guard is probably the most important position besides quarterback, because of you are the head of that offense. So yeah, I get that. But as far as a grade, I'm gonna roll with a B minus. Again, he was solid, but he didn't wow me. It's not like this is going to be a season to remember. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to look back and say, oh yeah, man, I remember that year. No, it was an average year. It didn't wow me. But then again, he came in and he did his job, and that's all you wanted him to do. So moving on, what is his trade value? And looking at the situation with point guard, especially the fact that we need one, and we already have two capable backups in DeLon Wright and Jordan Goodwin. Would you say the Monte's on the trade block?
Yeah, I think he's going to be a trade piece this year. I don't think if they want to win, then you just can't have him as a starting point guard. You just can't. I think you have to make an upgrade there for sure, or find another small forward to start. But yeah, it's just to have this carousel or point guard by committee approach. I think it's doable. But he's making $9 million. He's a free agent. After next season, he'll be a free agent. So after the 2024 season, so he's on a manageable contract, $9 million per year. You can package him up with another player. His trade value is pretty low. We saw Rui go for 3 second-round picks and Kendrick Nunn, and I think honestly Monte's value would be lower than that. And Monte had to be added with Will Barton just for us to trade KCP, or just for the Nuggets to get rid of just for the Nuggets to trade those guys to here. So you had to package up Monte and Will Barton for Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. So that kind of tells his value right there. It's not high at all. And then especially after this season where he had another basically backup point guard as a starting point guard type of a season, I don't see you getting really much more than maybe 3-round picks. And I don't even know if you get a player. You might get 3 second-round picks and maybe somewhere like a Kendrick Nunn. I could see that at the most. But you would probably have to package up Monte, and I would not want to trade Gafford, but you have to, package up Monte and Gafford, or Monte and Denny in a second-round pick to get another player that I feel like can be impactful and help this roster. So I don't see much value for Monte Morris at this point.
I mean, I agree, but I do think he does have value, because if you look at the playoffs, if you look at the Lakers, depth matters, man. Having a guy that can step in and score like that. I mean, if you look at Lonnie Walker, man, kind of, he came in. So depth matters. Having a guy who can come off the bench and score has value, especially to a playoff team or a potential playoff team. So I think that, yeah, we could kind of package him because he's aspiring deal too, which is attractive for other teams. So I definitely see him being moved because, I mean, look at it. We need a point guard. We everybody knows. I think the whole league knows we need a starting point guard. So, and if you look at DeLon Wright, he's capable of running the second unit, and Jordan Goodwin is capable of running the second unit. So I think that he just doesn't have a place anymore. I just don't see where he works out because I don't think you run him at a 2 guard on the bench. I don't see that in creating a log jam of guards. I think that he's the guy that's going to be moved. But I do see value. Now, what would be a package? I don't think that he's going to be the marquee name of a trade. I'll say that. And there's no disrespect. But he's going to be a throw-in. He's going to be a salary filler. It's just, so what can you get as far as the package? I said this, man. I truly think the Wizards need to trade back into the first round, get another first round pick. I would definitely look at him. I mean, I know people are going to be very unhappy with me, but I think Denny is another name you got to look at because he's another aspiring deal, which obviously if you're bringing back Kyle Kuzma, you're not going to bring back Denny. So I think that he can definitely be a commodity to throw into a trade. But if it's me, if I'm general manager, man, I'm trying to get another second round pick because if I can come out of this pick, if I can come out of this draft with, think about it, what would be the dream draft, man? If I could pick Cam Whitmore and come out of there with Anthony Black or Casey Wallace, that's a solid draft. So that's where I'm at, man.
Yeah, that's a good point too. If they draft another point guard, now you're going to have either Anthony Black or Cason Wallace and Monte Morris and DeLon Wright. So you have 3 guards that are fighting for playing time. And I think, with your 8th or 9th pick of the draft, you don't want them in the G League again as much as Johnny Davis was. And especially with the point guard help that we need, I think whoever we pick, if it's Cason or Anthony, they're not going to play in the G League. I think they're going to immediately play and get meaningful minutes. You're just going to have to develop those guys by having them play. But they shouldn't really rely on a rookie to make, a playoff push. But I think that's kind of where they're going to be at this season. Coming up.
Yeah, and I mean, we've touched base with this before, man. It is hard to be a rookie and come in and orchestrate the offense for a veteran core. It's hard to do. We brought up Mario Chalmers, which he had to do that, man. He was there with Wade, LeBron, and Bosh, and they made it work, but it took growing pains because, again, you're the quarterback of the offense, man. So it behooves to have a little experience, especially dealing with a veteran core. So it's gonna be interesting how they deal with that, or whether they try to market a pick. But I truly believe that we need a pick in this draft, whether we acquire another one and trade it to get a veteran point guard, or but I do think we need to get a value pick in this draft, man, because we cannot come out of this draft without a pick. So I agree, man. I think that really looking at it, maybe a veteran is a better pick at as far as putting at the point guard position. But I think we both agree getting back on Monte. Monte just ain't the answer, man. And like I said, it's nothing on Monte, man. He came in, he did his job. It's really not a slight. He did his job. It's just he's just not that guy. He did his job. He earned his money. He did well. He came in. He fulfilled his commitment as a starting point. It's just he's just not that guy long term. And we know that now. And hat goes off to him, man, because he did give us a good year. He came in. He was productive. I mean, like you said, he ate the court, literally, man. So, I mean, he's tough. So, appreciate you for what you did this year, Monte. But it's just, it's time, man. It was just time. So, before we move on to talk about the playoffs a little bit, man, and wrapping it up, you have anything else on Monte?
Nope. I'll just give my prediction for the playoffs, and then we can wrap it up after that. I got the Lakers finishing the series against the Warriors, and then I have the Heat finishing the series against the Knicks.
Oh, yeah, Jimmy, man. Jimmy is playing out of his mind, man. And yeah, I can see the Lakers. What about it? Because tonight we got the Celtics at Philly, the Celtics at home versus Philly, and Denver at home against the Suns. Who you got tonight, and who you got for the series?
I got Celtics and Suns.
What? Okay. Yeah. You got this. You don't see Philly pulling it through?
No, not in Boston.
That's tough, man. It's tough to win in Boston, man. But I don't know, man. Phoenix, I'm trying to tell you, Phoenix, when KD and Booker do their thing, that's a scary duo, man. And I don't know really where Chris Paul's place in his team is anymore because, just give them the ball. They're scary. They're scary out of the West, man. So I don't know. I can't really say no to Phoenix, man, because they're good. To me, if I'm going to attack them, I'm going to attack through the paint, man, because Ayton is just kind of, you know what I mean? Like, there's times where he's dominating, and there's times where it's like, where you at, bro? Like, so that's where if I'm gonna attack Phoenix, man, it's gonna be in the paint. So yeah, I'm with you, man. So all right, appreciate everybody. We're gonna go ahead and wrap it up. So again, tomorrow we are going to grade DeLon Wright and Jordan Goodwin, aka Goody. So definitely tune in and appreciate y'all. And hail to the Wizards. Y'all have a good day and peace.